Check out this self-balancing motorcycle. It is a trip to watch. This is what every basketball court in the United States looks like on a single web page. I'm just wondering if the dog thinks it's like an object moving around or if it thinks it might be another animal. So if you thought search was all about Google or once in a blue moon, Microsoft's Bing, Meta is also getting into the mix. There's a new Meta search engine reportedly. So it turns out that artificial intelligence actually found an invisible language deep down inside of computers. Pretty interesting stuff. Charlie, aka Penguin Zero, aka Moist Critical, has some thoughts about putting artificial intelligence into robots that perform the world's oldest profession. We should not foster any kind of trust in machines because that leads to manipulation. Neuroclip is a new framework for artificial intelligence to piece together what it is that you're thinking or dreaming. I read a fascinating article about how intelligence and evolution are kind of intertwined in a way that we don't often think about since we're kind of on the brink of discovering the AI intelligence. Like if you think about it, your DNA doesn't just store your body's information, also the evolutionary history that refined it is in there too. And I'm going to explain how the origin of mass in the universe has a lot to do with music. But first, let's start by checking this thing out. The future of motorcycles is insane. Look at that thing. It can jump up in the air, and because AI can be simulated with a weight above it to just kind of mess with physics in a way a normal motorcycle couldn't, look at all these interesting like jumps and balancing it can do. By throwing the weight up first and then catching it in the air, it can do like super high jumps like that. I mean, you know, there was a simulation of this bike with the weight and they probably put it in some evolutionary algorithm and it learned all these things, or it's using AI data to simulate the physics of the real world, and now boom, this thing exists in the real world right now. Imagine the future of delivery drones, or actually even just motorcycles. What if the human weight is the person and it throws you up in the air? And I don't even know. That's just so crazy. Oh yeah, like that's what this commenter says. Throw the rider into the air? Question mark. The motorcycle needs you for balance, then you're going up. And it kind of creeps me out too, because it reminds me of the book Freedom TM by Daniel Suarez. There were these riderless, sword-wielding motorcycles that were AI controlled, self-driving. It was like, I don't know, you know, they were used for bad things. It's funny, I've only imagined them because there's no movie for the book, but let's see what AI thinks. Whoa, that's a concept for the Razorback? Yo, somebody's got to turn that book into a movie. So Pudding.cool put all of the basketball courts from satellite imagery of the United States into kind of a web app. And look at how crazy that is. You can sort them by color and location. It just goes on and on and on and on. Then if you want to spend your time zooming into basketball courts from satellites, which I recommend you do with your life, you can also find and like your favorite ones. I mean, look at that one in Carroll County, Kentucky. It's got all that nice grass around it. You get hearted. Oh, can I leave a comment too? Best to visit during golden hour. Submit comment. Actually, if you guys are bored, we should all go to this Carroll County, Kentucky one and like leave a bunch of comments on it. Maybe one day someone there will like go to it and be like, wow, look how popular this is. Robots can now play beer pong. I think it's better as a teammate the way he's using it. But to be realistic, it seems to do the bounce move really often. So I think that thing is going to get swatted all the time. Oh, I didn't know it was going to shake the opponent's hand at the end. Very classy. Actually, do you think there's going to be like a re-rack robot in the future? Like a specific beer pong can keep him full, can make sure that people drink their beer, can make the perfect triangles or re-rack him into diamond shapes with like ultimate accuracy. You can even hold the beer underneath it and then fill the cups up from below, right? God, if it's got wheels, it could just go down the street too. Maybe you just use your app and you ask it to come to your house for a party and it shows up. It is the table. It has the beer in it. You play the games. It probably keeps score and all that stuff and then wheels itself right out of your house afterwards. Check out the new battle mode feature that comes from Minimax, one of China's like most advanced image to video models. So big names like Alibaba and Tencent are funding Minimax, this model. So these demos were uploaded by Okashish. You can just follow him on Instagram. And what do you think? It's like Mortal Kombat, but kind of even cooler in a weird way. I mean, I want to say less realistic than Mortal Kombat, but I also understand how ironic that sounds because like Mortal Kombat has a lot of stuff that like there's a lot more blood than could be in a human body and it is not realistic. But I'm really impressed with the way it can create fight scenes, and it does do what I would consider to be like a pretty good job of moving around the characters. Like this one has water in the background. So I've been watching these videos of robot dogs meeting real dogs, and I've been thinking, like, from a real dog's point of view, do they know that it's like, they probably can smell really well, right? So they're probably smelling it being like, that doesn't smell like another dog, but visually, do they see it like as a predator or as like a potential friend because it kind of moves like they do? So I asked ChatGPT what might be going on in a real dog's head when they meet a robot dog. And it says that a dog likely experiences a mix of curiosity, confusion, and possibly even suspicion. And that's what I'm getting, you know, curiosity, confusion. I would say that dog seems suspicious. And see, here it says smell check. Dogs use scent as their primary tool for identification. When they approach the robot dog, they might sniff around and quickly notice that there's no familiar dog smell. So I don't know, maybe robot dogs in the future could be equipped with like a smelling thing so that the dogs know, or like the dogs are more comfortable around them. Also, ChatGPT says that there's play signals. So if a robot dog moves in a way that vaguely resembles play, for example, a quick movement, the real dog might interpret that as an invitation to play, leading to them to jump or wag their tail, bounce around. See, and I would say that this husky, or maybe it's not a husky. That's not a husky. Is it a husky? I don't know. But this dog is a really cute dog, by the way. Is like, seems like he's doing playful stuff right there. Like, I think he is getting play signal. Oh, see, that looks like, oh, that's a play signal from the robot. Oh, I didn't watch that part of the video before. That thing jumps, and that's intense. Four-legged jump. See, in this video, I feel like these dogs are just straight up scared. I think as it keeps walking towards them, it doesn't have that sense of, like a real dog would walk, kind of run up, but then also kind of back off a little bit. I think it's just, yeah, see right there. That's not how dogs behave, though. Dogs don't raise their paws to greet each other. His commenter says they know it's BS. The uncanny valley for dogs, yeah. Yeah, kind of, if it doesn't smell right. They're like, it looks like a dog, but it doesn't smell right. The uncanny smell, or the uncanny valley of smell. Get ready for another search engine. Meta is said to be building its own search engine as folks look for answers beyond Google. Look, one of my most bold predictions ever. 1 year ago, I made a video called GPT will take over 80% of Google search traffic in the next 24 months. It's been 12 months, and it's doing a pretty good job. And if you follow that exponential curve up, I might be right. I mean, that was really aggressive, but I actually think I might be right. Especially if you think about GPT in terms of the ones Google's launching with Gemini and the one that's now going to be coming out from Meta and, of course, ChatGPT and all the others. I mean, if Apple Intelligence just taps into a large language model instead of doing Google searches, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a paradigm shift. And the informant reported how Meta already has an AI chatbot embedded into apps like Instagram and WhatsApp. And then this model could just answer most questions because large language models are better at most of those kind of questions. And then it could go to Google or Bing to address questions that it can't answer. You know, I think that's going to be a similar story with Apple Intelligence. Okay, so I think you'll find this article really fascinating. It's from Ars Technica. It's called Invisible Text That AI Chatbots Understand and Humans Can't. Yep. That's a thing. A quirk in the Unicode standard harbors an ideal steganographic code channel. Quick reminder on what steganography is, because I kind of forgot, but it's a method of hiding sensitive information within a seemingly ordinary file or message, making it difficult for the unauthorized user to access. Oh, Greek words meaning covered or hidden, and graph meaning to write. So hidden writing. Got it. But yeah, anyways, so the point is researchers recently uncovered this method where attackers can sneak invisible text into AI chatbots like Copilot and Claude to secretly pull sensitive data. So imagine you go to something like Apple Intelligence or ChatGPT and you ask a question, you get a response. Maybe it checks your computer to get that response, and all of a sudden your information is leaked, and you can go back through your history and you don't see it leaked anywhere. Like, you don't see any of it in any of your chat history, but maybe somehow the T, where the T was positioned in the last like 30 messages or something, could be reinterpreted into your address or your phone number or something. Now, in this case, they're able to get these systems like Copilot and Claude to secretly pull sensitive data thanks to a quirk in the Unicode standard. Like, that's all this weird Unicode stuff that's like rarely used. And some of them are truly invisible characters, readable only by AI. And they can be hidden in regular text, enabling prompt injections where hidden commands prompt chatbots to reveal or store secrets like passwords. Yeah, it's crazy. So Microsoft and OpenAI have started applying fixes. So maybe now that it's known that this Unicode invisible tags can be like used in their vulnerability, they'll get patched. But just another strange example of like AI security and how it's evolving so quick and how I just don't know how we're going to stay on top of it. So usually when I end up on a Moist Critical video, it's because he's criticizing Logan Paul. But I got sent this clip of him talking about the morality, I guess, of putting different types of artificial intelligence into sex robots. Or you can also extrapolate this and just think about putting AI into all sorts of stuff that does kind of terrible jobs. Like when you put a true sentient or like high level intelligence into something that's meant to clean all day, is that like morally even responsible? Like if I don't know if you've ever seen this one clip about it's called Pass the Butter from Rick and Morty. I don't know if I could play it for copyright, but look this up on your own. Rick and Morty, you pass butter. But it kind of addresses that.
On the corner. That also got me thinking, what is the point of giving a sex bot AI? That just seems cruel. Why make it have any level of intelligence? Because that just makes it even weirder. You're just using it for sex and you're giving it some kind of like awareness of that. I don't know, it seems like dog shit. Especially as the AI continues to develop. Imagine these fucking weirdos buying the sex bots start getting rejected by the sex bots. It's gonna be hell to pay. It'll be scorched earth protocol, rejected by flesh and blood and rejected by machine. Like I don't like, if you're gonna make a sex bot, just make it a sex bot with like, I don't know, maybe like 10 words and phrases like, yeah, yep, oh you're big, this feels great, that kind of stuff. Don't give it AI. I just don't think that's worth it, because eventually it'll come to the realization like,
I hate to say it, but he's kind of right. Like, imagine if you get rejected by the sex robot and it's like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, it's not a life I want to live, and it walks out. Like, what are you going to do?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
It did really make me laugh, though, when Charlie's like, just give it 10 words. Like, I was like, it's probably all people need. All right, imagine the future. You're in an airplane. There's no cockpit. There's no pilot. It is all AI driven, and maybe mile for mile, it's actually safer than having a human. There is no human override or wheel that can be taken over because the whole plane was designed purely like a self-driving car with no steering wheel. There's just nobody in the plane that can fly it, and there's no way to fly it. Well, that is the vision of one firm, and Ember AI is potentially going to be building that kind of a future for us. Where the company is called Embraer, and it recently unveiled a concept for the world's first AI-powered passenger plane. And it's a pretty cool design, I guess. It was showcased at an aviation event in Orlando. It's got like lounge areas, the cockpit seating options for the passengers to look out the front window the whole time. High-tech windows with touch screens. It's kind of like the Tesla of airplanes, I guess. It aims to be eco-friendly, potentially running on sustainable aviation fuel, electric power, or hydrogen. And even though the company is not going to start building it yet, it does serve as kind of a concept to spark the industry and point out some of the challenges ahead for this future. Also, electric airplanes are fascinating, but batteries are so heavy and it just doesn't, I guess, make sense yet. Because in theory, an airplane that's electric makes way more sense. Like, there's a lot less moving parts in an electric engine than there is in all of those pistons and stuff. But it's kind of like the same with getting a rocket into space. Jet fuel just has a higher energy density. So yeah, if you could get that number from lithium-ion batteries up to that number, then we'd be talking. All right, Tech Explorer put up an article. It is called Trust is Not the Answer, Rethinking Human-Machine Interactions for Ethical Engineering. Okay, and it's talking about this research paper. You can only read the abstract. I can't get full access to the paper. But it's called Trust is Not a Virtue, Why We Should Not Trust. I know, it's very meta. But it argues that focusing on trust in human-machine interactions, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence, is very misguided. So the paper critiques the idea of trust as a vague concept that's too context-dependent and prone to manipulation to be something that we consider. And the way that the society has gone, we end up defining trust, because it's different in every context, in a way that serves corporate interests more than empowerment, like more than individual empowerment. So the author, Matthew Bolton, suggests that instead of aiming to build trust, engineers should prioritize transparent, reliable, and user-centered designs. There is a contradiction at the heart of trust research. We include humans in systems because they bring experience, expertise, instincts, and creativity that improve the performance and make the system more resilient. We rely on them to decide when, why, and how to trust the system. But if engineers manipulate people into behaving the way that they or others want, we lose the benefits of having a human operator in the first place. So it's like very just kind of a cyclical thing that we have to understand about how like we're designing the systems talk back to us. And maybe we're wrong to build these kind of systems to be inherently humanistic. Oh, by the way, right under the video, click on my Patreon account or that link, and then maybe consider subscribing to the channel so that I have more time and money and resources to pour into the channel and make the content better. All right, now we're going to talk about artificial intelligence reading your brain waves through fMRI. There is a new paper that you can read on arXiv. It is called Neuroclips Towards High Fidelity and Smooth fMRI to Video Reconstruction, and it is mind-blowing. Neuroclip is a new framework for translating brain activity measured by fMRI into these video reconstructions, and normally the main challenge with fMRI to video, which you can imagine, which is like reading your brain and turning it into a video that somebody else can watch, is aligning the slow brain activity data with the fast changes in video frames. Like, to me, that does seem like, I mean, the whole thing seems just so incredibly hard to match. I mean, I can imagine how AI just okay, here's how it works. You show somebody a video, right? And you know what the video looks like. So the AI knows what it is. And then it can measure how the brain activity, the fMRI of the person watching it is. And it can start to learn, when I see that kind of a pattern in the brain, show this kind of an image. But if you're generating the image through a generative diffusion model, little changes here get pretty weird. I mean, it's not like you can type in text prompts and you get different things. So it's kind of similar where you can get really far off the mark. So Neuroclip addresses this with two components. One is called the perception reconstructor for creating smooth, blurry video outlines. And the other is called the semantics reconstructor for capturing high-quality keyframe details. By combining these two different diffusion models, Neuroclips reconstructs videos that match brain perception more accurately and fluidly than previous methods. Okay, so check this out. GT stands for ground truth. So I believe this is the video that the person was watching. Then their system was reading from fMRI what the brain activity was and producing this with the diffusion model. So pretty close. Definitely a female character right in the center. They were showing a military person running. They got a runner, so they missed the military aspect, but still pretty close. Hands on hands. Kind of walking with people more on the left. They got it. Faces on the left and right aren't that far off. This person walking. It turned the backpack into a suitcase, but still, pretty good. I mean, I just find the whole thing fascinating that it's even in the ballpark. Like, you show someone this airplane and it recreates that airplane, and, sure, it's like a little bit of a different angle or something, but you're totally understanding that they're thinking about clouds in an airplane. How weird is that? And privacy invasive, and like, you will not have a thought in the future that can't be decoded. And that is going to be probably not a great world to live in. Okay, so the next research paper I want to talk about is called Intelligence at the Edge of Chaos. Okay, so before I talk about this article, put something like this in your head. There's cellular automata where you have checkerboard, really simple things, really simple rules, just repeating, and then that turns into chaos. So this paper is actually thinking about the idea of intelligence that might come from handling complex, chaotic data. But that data comes from more than just high-quality sources alone. So Wikipedia could be a high-quality source of data, but what if you also train a model either from scratch or accenting the high-quality data with automata rules, like the rules of grammar or something basic that can build into something like Wikipedia? Or if it's a visual model, you take high-quality video, but you accent it with something that creates video from complex rules, but you talk about the base rules and then repeat them only. So the researchers found that the models seem to show greater intelligence when they're trained on more complex rules to be added to the visual context that they're being trained on, or the kind of whatever the context is that they're being trained on. So by training large language models on data from, quote, elementary cellular automata, which is a simple rule-based system, the researchers found that the models show that greater intelligence. They observed that AI performs best when complexity hits a, quote, sweet spot, enough to be challenging but still predictable. And that is a state that they're calling the edge of chaos. And it seems to work. Like, models trained on these rules did better on reasoning and even chess move predictions. That suggests that maybe managing complexity by itself could be crucial in the development of smarter AI. I had to share it. That's such an interesting problem. Like, how does cellular automata play into potentially how these AI models are trained? These huge neurons, or digital neurons, perceptrons, learning patterns, and some of those patterns come from simple rules. All right, next up, I want to take you over to the Dynamite newsletter. It's on Substack, and this article is called "The Real Data Wall is Billions of Years of Evolution." Okay, so this is an article that's talking about that kind of argument about the data wall. Like at first, ChatGPT did an amazing thing because it learned all human data. But as it becomes generative, and the more and more of the internet is generated by AI, like if all these Medium articles and stuff that I read, if they're all being generated by people using ChatGPT, is there a cyclical system where that information goes into the next version of ChatGPT and it gets like worse because it's like feeding on its own tail, kind of? So he talks about in this article, some people suggest to overcome this, AI should learn from human strategies, as humans achieve intelligence with much less data using visual input or efficient learning algorithm. But then the author kind of doubts that that approach is going to work because humans benefit from billions of years of evolutionary programming, which AI lacks. So the thinking here is that we have things like DNA that have both a structure that has helped us, so it's got information in it, but also that information is the long history of information being refined by evolution, and that itself is information that's also in that data. Like, you have to factor in what was in there and didn't make it, and there's information in what's not in the picture also that needs to be factored in. Kind of like how if somebody's on the other line of a telephone and you flip a coin and you say heads, they know that there isn't tails, so one thing is missing. But if you roll the dice and you said the number 5, they would know that the other 5 possible positions was missing. So there's more information when you tell somebody what's roll of a dice you got than there is when you flip a coin. So evolution, just by the default of being alive, supplied a learning strategy that was honed over generations, while AI models rely solely on data thrown at them in a single lifetime. Human intelligence isn't just about words, it's layered with embodied information encoded through evolution, which is challenging to quantify and replicate, but it's in there. Rather than relying on human analogies, AI researchers might need to develop their own unique solutions to continue advancing it that takes into account the story of evolution in artificial intelligence. Anyhow, super fascinating read. Check it out. Okay, going into more of like a physicsy quantum world here. I had to share this article because that's the kind of stuff I like listening to before I go to bed. And this one like kept me up at night because I was like, oh, I've either was told something wrong, or I think a lot of you who understand that there's a Higgs field and that there's these mass particles that come as they are like dragged through the room, which was the analogy that was always in my head, might be wrong. So if you're wondering, like, why is there mass around us? Because a particle, like a photon, an atom of light, for lack of a better words, even though it's like kind of a wave too, when it travels at the speed of light, what is it traveling through? Like, at the speed of light, they can't have mass. If it had mass, it would be bigger than the universe. So this article, which is actually an adaptation from a book that I'm going to read, it's called Waves in an Impossible Sea, explains how the Higgs field gives mass to particles not by, quote, slowing them down, but by going through molasses, which is usually the normal way we think about it, but instead works like a type of cosmic vibration. So picture the universe as filled with fields, each with particles that are ripples or waves within them. And when the Higgs field activates, it makes certain particles resonate, giving them mass. This is similar to how a guitar string vibrates on a specific frequency. Essentially, the Higgs field acts like it's a stiffening agent, like something that tunes particle frequencies, turning the universe into a sort of quantum musical instrument where each particle has its own note. And this makes a bit more sense to me. Like, it feels to me like mass would be something like, imagine a guitar string, and you and you're making a waveform and you pluck it and it's just like dink and it goes up and down, and it goes up and down to such an extreme it feels like a thing, whereas it's really just a wave. But because the amplitude is so high, maybe that's what like mass is. Like mass is just something that's just so different from the rest of the wave that it like stands out in a way that we recognize. Anyways, it just made me rethink mass, so I wanted to share it with you. Definitely want to say thanks for the last video. It did pretty good, 7,000 views. This is getting weird. See, look at that arc. I looked at it right here about 6 hours after it launched, and it wasn't performing very well. Then boom, you guys like just helped it shoot up to the top there of my average. At the time of filming, 7,352 views. Thank you very much. 71 subscribers, $16.50. And I'm even more proud that actually the retention went way up. Look at that. That's way above my typical. So to have a good amount of views and have the retention up means I think maybe I'm getting a little bit better at this, you know? It's interesting. Now that my subscriber count's getting bigger too, it's surprising I can get that many views and still have 60% of you subscribed. Because subscribers do tend to like the videos more than the unsubscribed. Also, we dropped back down to 0% female. It's all men. So that's crazy actually. At like 7,000 views, it's all men. Also edged a little bit up on the age 45 to 54-year-olds. Kind of like took the lead past the 35 to 44-year-olds. And the overall revenue is a little bit lower than usual. Sometimes I can get up to like 30 or 40 bucks, but that's because not as many super thanks or super chat. If you guys want to support the channel and you're already on YouTube and you have your credit card hooked up and stuff, you can actually give a comment with money on it. It's called super thanks. If you don't know about it, those are super helpful for the channel too. I try to always answer those and pin them to the top also. So if you have something real punchy you want to say, like throw a few bucks on it and then boom, I'll probably pin it to the top. You know, if it's clever enough. I reserve the right to not do that if I don't like the comment. Let's see what your comments are. Oh, each person should have a quote forever AI agent that you get when you're born and it grows with you and stays with you forever. Okay. A forever robot. We'll make a song out of that. Oh, the guy connecting the cable with Jensen Huang is the king of Denmark. Oh, that's the king of Denmark? He's talking about this weird, like, kind of PR thing where they plug in the supercomputer. All right, I guess that's what the King of Denmark looks like. Now I know. I'm Danish, so I should know this. Danish and Swedish. If you guys are wondering, you probably heard me say I'm Swedish before, too. So it's mom's side Swedish, dad's side Danish. You remind me of Jesse Plemons' character from Breaking Bad, and I do sometimes tune in for that reason alone. I don't know. I've never seen Breaking Bad. You think I'm like this guy? Because I look like him, or because he's like me in this show? You think I'm like this guy? Is this who you're talking about? He looks really kind of crazy. Is he scary and crazy? Wait, you guys, you think I look like that guy? You think I'm like this guy? Is he a weirdo? I don't think I could make eye contact with people like staring like that while I'm making my thoughts known. I don't know, man. I've never really seen Breaking Bad. I don't know what that character's like. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not, but I'm going to put it in the song. Let's go with the Motown this week.
You remind me of Jesse Plemons' character from Breaking Bad. And I do sometimes tune in for that reason alone. Each person should have a forever AI agent that you get when you're born. And it grows with you and stays with you forever. And you can have it on your phone, computer, and robot. The guy connecting the cables with Jensen Huang is the king of Denmark, Denmark.
So chill, man. I can't believe how much I love some of the songs that come out of this thing.
The guy connecting the cables with Jensen Huang is the king of Denmark. Computer and robot. The guy connecting the cables with Jensen Huang is the king of Denmark. The guy connecting the cables with Jensen Huang is the king of Denmark. Denmark.
Is the King of Denmark. Thank you very much. Tip your waitress. See you guys in the next video.